Hi everyone, today is September 11th, 2019, 4:47 p.m., 87 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 degrees Celsius. Right now I am at the corner of 5th Avenue and 42nd Street. Today I'll be taking you on a walk through Midtown, but the topic today is going to be drastically different than what I normally do. This will be a video on how to save money in New York City. Whether you're a resident here or you're traveling here, this topic will be relevant to you because who doesn't like saving money, right? By the way, I do have a disclaimer. I have referral links and affiliate links in the video description below, so if you like to support my channel, you can click through them or apply through one of my methods below, and it will benefit both me and you. So the first topic on this list is housing and also airfare. I'll start with airfare because first you have to get to New York City. Airfare in New York City generally ranges very dramatically. It is the most expensive to fly in during the holidays. That's when everybody wants to come here for the Christmas time and New Year's. But the best time to travel to New York City to save the most money is in January, in the first week of January throughout February. That's when there are the least tourists in New York City, because for some reason people don't like the cold weather. I'm kind of an exception to that, and I actually love cold weather. But you can come visit New York City during that time and there'll be definitely a lot less people. And that brings us to our next topic, which is housing and hotels. So hotels on average, they range about $350 a night per room. If you visit during January and February, those rates can be dramatically reduced. I've seen on websites they can be even $150 a night rather than the $350 that I stated earlier. But even better than a hotel, if you'd like to save money, is Airbnb. Airbnb, you can get a lot of reasonable prices in Manhattan, especially for around the $80, $70 range. And you can even make your money go farther if you stay in the outer boroughs. But just keep in mind that if you spend on the least expensive part of Airbnb, around the $30 to $40 range, and you stay in Manhattan, you may not be in the best neighborhood for an Airbnb, so keep that in mind. But if you'd like to try Airbnb out, you can follow my referral link in the video description below. You can get $40 off your first stay with my referral code. And if you decide to move here or you're looking to live in New York City, this may be a shocker to you because New York City has one of the most expensive housing prices in the whole world. According to a March 2009 report, the average price of a two-bedroom apartment is $2,500. A one-bedroom is $2,100, and a studio is $1,900. And utilities on a 915 square foot place is around $146. Now, I'm all about living within your means. It's advisable to spend no more than 30% of your gross annual income on a place. That's what's recommended by most people. Another formula to calculate that is no more than, if you take a place and you multiply it by 40, you cannot spend that much money on an apartment. Otherwise, that's not within your means. So if a place is $2,000, you have to have a gross annual salary of $80,000. That's how the formula works. And many landlords will actually do credit checks on you and pull pay stubs in order to make sure you make that amount. But that's how much it costs to live in New York City. Now, the main way to get around this high cost of housing is to live with roommates. Like I said before, a one-bedroom is $2,100, and there's New York City for you. Unnecessary honking. I didn't see any danger there. But a one-bedroom is $2,100, and a two-bedroom is $2,500 on average. So if you have a two-bedroom place and you share between two people, that's $1,250 per person instead of $2,100 per person. So you can just make that dollar amount go further by living with roommates. The housing is also a lot cheaper the further you live away from the city centers of Midtown and Wall Street. You can actually find quite affordable places in Manhattan as well. Manhattan isn't the like overpriced housing neighborhoods of the city. You have affordable options such as Inwood, which is at the very top of Manhattan, and Washington Heights. And then if you move further away from the city, in places like Astoria, Williamsburg, Coney Island, Forest Hills, Queens Village, those are all more affordable areas than city center. So that does it for housing. Also, you got to make sure when you rent a place out, you have to ask if utilities are included, because electricity costs and water costs and gas costs can all factor into all of that. Also, it's very common in New York City not to have a laundry room on site or laundry machines. So if that's the case, you may have to do your laundry off-site at laundromats. And then you also have to factor in if you prefer doing it drop-off laundry or self-service. Self-service is generally cheaper than the drop-off service because you have to do all the labor yourself. But then again, your time may be more valuable than the money you spend on the laundry. So that does it for housing and hotels. The next topic I want to cover is food and groceries. So on average, a single person spends around $471 on food every month, according to Numbeo.com data from May 2019. Of course, there are always going to be people who claim, oh, the easiest way to save in New York City is not to live here at all, or don't visit here, or you can like be homeless and go in the garbage can and dumpster dive. This video is not about that. This is a practical guide to saving money in New York City. There are also affordable food options here in New York City, affordable restaurants. You have places like $1 pizza slices. And also there's bagels you can eat, which are generally less expensive than the other breakfast options. But in general, if you want to save money on food in New York City, you should cook and do your own food prep at home. Now it is challenging to get quality, healthy food at less expensive prices, there is kind of a health premium in restaurants in New York City. It's generally more expensive to get low-fat food and vegan food, things of that nature, organic food especially. A thing with restaurants, sometimes restaurants, you'd be surprised, is actually more affordable than eating out. There are many places like restaurants in Chinatown that have meals you can get for under $5 for a dinner, and you get generous portions. And there's also like local neighborhood restaurants that you have to look up by yourself on Yelp. Make sure on Yelp you're looking up those restaurant reviews because they can be drastically different than what you're expecting. You may see a place from the outside and think it's great. Think it's great, but it's actually a poor choice. Another way to save money on restaurants is just based on basic math. When you get your restaurant bill, make sure you read what the suggested gratuity is, because their calculations can often be incorrect. If they say a gratuity of 18%, make sure that 18% calculation is calculated on top of the subtotal without the tax and not the total with the tax included. Because then you're adding another 8.875% sales tax to the gratuity calculation that you wouldn't have to pay. So that's one way that restaurants will get you there. Also, some restaurants now have started charging surcharges on credit cards within New York City. Make sure you read the fine print on either the receipt or the cash register or outside the restaurant to make sure that the surcharge on the credit card isn't more than what you're expecting. Also, some restaurants may not even accept credit cards and they only accept cash only. Generally, I find that to be the case with the more affordable food options in the city. So always make sure you have cash on hand. And on top of that, some restaurants may give you incentives to pay with cash, and they'll have a cash discount of like 8% or 10%. So it's always a good idea to have cash in New York City. And that brings me to my next topic, which is money. Here the currency is the US dollar. And for those of you who are traveling to New York City, I would recommend you not to use a currency exchange because they'll use generally less preferable rates. Instead, use a bank ATM because they'll have the best rates. And also, most places, like I said, they'll take credit cards. Credit cards, the currency conversion fee will be generally more favorable than what you do at a currency exchange and then using the cash to pay for the meal. But be careful if you're coming here because you have to make sure if your credit card or debit card has no foreign transaction fee. Because those foreign transaction fees of 1%, 3%, 5% can really add up. It's also a segment I'll go into when I talk about credit cards later on. So in terms of transportation, I would recommend you, if you come here, to generally try not to take Ubers or taxis as much as you can. Instead, take the subway or the bus system. Usually that is the most efficient way to get to your destination and not have to pay a large sum of money. A 7-day unlimited Metro card costs $32, and for a yellow cab, if you go somewhere, generally I find the prices will range anywhere from like $20 to $50 just for one trip. So for the price of one trip, you get an unlimited Metro card that you can take to go anywhere within the city that the transit system takes you, and only pay $32 for those 7 days that you use the Metro card. A 30-day unlimited Metro card, I believe, is $127. That's the best option to do if you're here for a long period of time or you reside here. And another way to save money too is do what I'm doing right now and walk everywhere. Or you can also ride a bicycle, although actually a bicycle may not save you as much money as you think, because you have to buy the bicycle itself. You have to lock your bicycle, so you have to buy the accessories for it. You have to buy the cost of figure in the cost of the tires into your purchase, the cost of tubes, and also the cost of the maintenance on your bicycle. You have to do tune-ups in order to keep it in tip-top shape. And generally, I don't really find that riding a bicycle will save you any more money than riding a subway or train if you keep your bicycle in tip-top shape and also all the accessories. But they are good in certain situations. Of course, we have Midtown traffic. Also, with bicycling, you have to be careful of all the traffic here. Some of these drivers can get pretty aggressive, and the infrastructure isn't exactly where it needs to be in New York City for a safe cycling environment. One thing about transportation that I didn't, about groceries and food that I didn't cover is happy hour. If you're the person who likes to drink, then a good time to visit restaurants and bars is during happy hour, which is a certain time during the day when restaurants will offer like $5 or $6 drinks. And you'll save a lot of money that way. The other way you can do it is pre-game. And by pre-gaming, you drink before you visit the social event. And you get your buzz and fix before you visit the restaurant. So in that way, you are getting the benefits of alcohol without having to spend the high price tag of the drinks. There's also another way you can save on groceries. So even though you cook at home, there's other ways to save money as well. There are also certain tiers of supermarkets that are more pricey than the others. If you were to go to the city center and go to a supermarket like Whole Foods supermarket, you're going to be paying a lot more money for those same groceries than if you were to go to, say, a local supermarket in Brooklyn or Queens, or some of the more affordable neighborhoods in Manhattan like Harlem. There's also places within Manhattan in the more expensive neighborhoods such as Trader Joe's, which offer, I find, better quality produce at less expensive prices than Whole Foods. There's also another way I like to save on groceries, and that's by going to the Chinatown grocery stands and supermarkets. There you can find very, very fresh produce and groceries for relatively inexpensive prices. With their meats, you do have to be careful though, and seafood, because some of it may not be as sanitary as some of the larger names such as Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, but I generally find groceries to be very, very good and very, very fresh. In fact, there were a lot of reports that said that the farmers, they actually sell to a lot of these grocery stands directly. So you're actually getting a very good value, and also knowing that the food is very fresh. Now is on to the fun section, which is entertainment. Now, everybody's form of entertainment and happiness lifestyle varies from person to person, but the most frequented tourist attraction in New York City is Broadway shows. And to save on Broadway shows, there are certain things you can do, like visiting during January and February and buying the tickets then. They'll often be discounted at steep prices. The other way you can do it is buying from the TKTS booth by TDF. They have several different locations. The most famous one is in Times Square. There you can actually find a lot of discount Broadway shows. They'll sell the tickets for like 30% off or 50% off. That's where you'll need to go to save money on Broadway tickets. You can also download the Today Tix app, and they'll offer discounted shows, although not as discounted as the TKTS booth, I find. But they do have online lotteries you can enter. And the way the lottery works is you have to enter online or on the theater itself. And then if you get lucky, you'll get email, and you only have like a certain time frame to purchase your tickets once you get that email. But these lottery tickets can be very, very steeply discounted. You can see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child for $40 a part, which is severely discounted from the regular retail price. There's also something called rush tickets, and for that you need to go there when the theater opens, and hopefully you'll be able to snag up some seats that they reserve off that are going to be sold at that price. So that's how you get discounts on Broadway shows. Another way to do it is to not see Broadway shows on the weekend and do it during the middle of the week. That's when they often have their matinee specials. Now, another famous thing to do here in New York City is to visit the museums and cultural institutions. There's a lot of places like the museum, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, probably our most famous museum. But these museums also have hidden secrets that you don't know about. Number one, if you're a student in the area, make sure that the museum knows that you're a student, because oftentimes there'll be discounts for student admission. Another way to do it is the Metropolitan Museum of Art used to have a suggested admission for everyone who entered the museum, but now it's only for New York State residents and also people who work or study in New York City. But I believe now the general admission is $25 if you're not in the area. But residents here and people who work and study here still have that suggested admission. So you can go up to the ticket counter, pay a penny, and still get in. Also, the Museum of Natural History has suggested admission for everyone, so you can still use that trick to see that museum. There's also pay-as-you-wish hours for museums. Certain times during the week for certain hours, like I believe the Museum of Modern Art, the MoMA, has free Friday nights by Uniqlo, sponsored by Uniqlo. So they'll do that. The Guggenheim has Saturday evenings for free, not free, pay as you wish. I believe it starts at 5:45 p.m. The museums are pretty strict about pay as you wish though. you can't pay anything. You have to pay something. That's why when I said it's free, I hesitated, because you still have to pay at least a penny in order to get in there. But one of the cons of the pay-as-you-wish hours are the long lines. If you're there for those hours, make sure that you're there early, because those lines can get really long. And if you're there, say like an hour into the pay-as-you-wish hour, you won't be able to attend, because they just have to let so many people get in and they won't be able to accommodate you. One time I was at the Guggenheim Museum during the pay-as-you-wish hour, and the line extended all the way from 5th Avenue past Madison Avenue, so pretty crazy if you ask me. Now, another tip for New York State residents, as well as people who work here and study here, there is another way you can see museums for free and cultural institutions. And that's with the Culture Pass. Now, the Culture Pass, you have to sign up through either one of the 3 library systems, the New York Public Library, the Queens Library, or the Brooklyn Library. And it doesn't matter which borough you reside in, you still can apply for the other borough's library card. Like if you live in Manhattan, you can still apply for the Queens Library card. But the way the Culture Pass works is, it's a joint program between the libraries and the museums, where you reserve a pass for a certain date in the future. You go there at a certain time, the date you selected, show them that you have a Culture Pass from the library along with a photo ID, and they'll let you in for free. And also, a lot of these Culture Pass vouchers, they'll have extra admission for free, so you can bring a guest, or some places I've even seen up to 3 tickets complimentary in addition to the voucher holder. So that's another way to save money on museums and cultural institutions. You can do it that way. But keep in mind that this program is actually very popular. The Culture Pass releases new tickets to each institution every 3 months. So if you can't get into, say, the Museum of Modern Art for October, now it's September, you have to wait until October 1st, and then they'll have new batches of tickets for January 2020. So they release new tickets on the 1st of every month for the 3 months upcoming. Another hack you can do is have a library card from each of the 3 institutions. That allows you to reserve multiple cultural passes at the same time, because each library system only allows you to reserve 2 culture passes at the same time. So by doing it this way, you can have up to 6 reservations of a culture pass rather than only 2. Another way to save money with these events is by using Groupon. Oftentimes, you'll find discounted tickets to museums and special events on Groupon. You can actually get very high quality events with Groupon. But not every place will be a great place to visit, even though it's on Groupon. I remember one experience I purchased on Groupon. It was for New Year's Eve at some place in Chelsea. And they advertised it as a way to it's a good way to celebrate. You get a great view of the Empire State Building and Times Square. I purchased the tickets. I go there, the top floor. What's this guy doing? Come on. Picking up passengers in the crosswalk. so rude and not nice, as well as illegal. But anyway, on to my story. So I get there, I go to the rooftop and I try to sit down, and they're like, "Sir, do you have like the gold ticket or something?" Which was like $100. I think I paid like $20 for my ticket to visit this like venue. And I said, "No, I have the $20 version." They said, "No, you can't sit here because you don't have this." So the only place I was allowed to go to was the first floor, which didn't have any view of the Empire State Building or Times Square at all. So keep that in mind. Another way to save money on cultural events is to visit free events, such as free kayaking at Brooklyn Bridge Park and the Hudson River. They also have it in Long Island City. There's also sometimes free events like ice skating in Bryant Park. You do have to pay for a ice skate rental if you don't have one, as well as the locker fee, but that's probably as good as you can get. But if you bring your own skates, you can skate for free. There's other ways to have a good time in New York City without spending money, such as walking through Central Park. That's completely free. Taking a ride on the Staten Island Ferry, you get to see the Statue of Liberty for free, as well as ride it back. You get a great view of Lower Manhattan and the Statue of Liberty again. There's also a lot of free things that happen within the city, like almost every weekend. Like just this past Sunday or Saturday, I believe, there was a Experience Thailand festival in Union Square. So you can go visit one of those events. It's very, very good. You even get to experience a lot of foods from all around the world. The food wasn't free though, but the entertainment was. You can actually check out my video of the festival where I walked through it. Now in terms of shopping here, there's no sales tax for clothing priced under $110. So New York City is a prime destination for clothing shopping because of that. Anything over this price is subject to the 8.875% sales tax. There's also other ways you can shop for clothing, such as thrift stores or like Goodwill stores. Sometimes businesses also give away free stuff on anniversaries, and you can always subscribe to a free events page, sometimes like during National Ice Cream Day. I think Ben & Jerry's, they give away a free scoop of ice cream. And another one of my favorites to do is to visit Chelsea art galleries on Thursday evenings. Oftentimes they'll even have free wine and cheese. And the reason why they do this is these art galleries want people to buy their work. And by inviting people to come in to see the art galleries and offering free wine and cheese, they'll get more viewers of the artwork in return, and hopefully a sale of the artworks. Pretty good. The same thing applies to businesses going out of business in New York City. Just because of the sheer competition in New York due to the high cost of living here and the cost of doing business, there's always businesses that are closing up, unfortunately. But there's also the plus side of that, in that as a shopper, you can take advantage of their closing deals. So that's another way you can save money on shopping. Another one I could say when saving money on shopping is to compare prices of the retail items to prices that are online. Some stores even offer price matches, like Best Buy. I remember I was buying a computer mouse at Best Buy and I found a cheaper price on Amazon. I asked them if they could match the price and they gladly did. So that's one way to save money in New York City, is by price matching. And now here's the extra stuff for saving money: credit cards and restaurant loyalty programs. So if you're traveling to New York City or living here in general, it's good to have a method of payment that rewards you for your spending. Now, this doesn't mean that because you get rewarded for your spending, you should just like spend and like live not within your means, because that's not the way to do it. You want to make sure you get the most value for your credit card that you can. One of the credit cards I really enjoy having is the Citi Double Cash MasterCard, which offers 2% back on everything you spend with the card, so a flat 2%. That's a really, really great deal, and it goes a long way in the city. I also like the Discover It card. You could visit my referral link down below where you can, I believe, get $50 after your first purchase. My goodness. Granted, the light was red for pedestrians, but you didn't have to go really, really fast like that in traffic. But the Discover It card is great because it gives you a $50 statement credit whenever you make your first purchase. It has a cashback match at the end of your first year, so whatever you earn during your first year, you get matched on it 100%. It has 1% cashback on everything, effectively making it a 2% cashback card in your first year. However, I like the Discover card because of its rotating 5% back categories. And they have 5% back categories in very good, desirable categories. Like this category for this quarter is PayPal and restaurants. So if you use Discover at a restaurant, you'll get 5% back at the restaurant. And if you're within your first year, you get matched on that 5%. So effectively, that makes the Discover It card a 10% back card on restaurants for this quarter, which is like completely amazing. And I highly recommend it, just getting it for the first year. The other credit card I like to use is the Uber Visa credit card. With that, I know the name is kind of funny because basically it's a credit card that has the Uber name on it, but it's better used on something that's not Uber. So the Uber Visa credit card actually gives you 4% back on restaurants, which is incredible. This is without any annual fee. Actually, all the restaurants I mentioned, all the credit cards I mentioned don't have annual fees. It also offers back 3% on travel expenses. Also, if you spend $500 in the first 3 months, you get a $100 bonus. So that's always good to know too. In addition, if you want to save money on groceries, I recommend the Amex Blue Cash Everyday credit card, which allows you to earn 6% back on groceries. That alone is incredible to get. If you're the person who likes to cook at home, that's the card to get, the Amex Blue Cash Preferred. That one has an annual fee though. The one without the annual fee is the American Express Blue Cash Everyday card, which offers 3% back on groceries instead of 6%. Another way I like to save money on restaurants is by using an app called Seated. Seated allows you to make a reservation on the app for a restaurant. They actually have a lot of locations available for you to choose. Snap a picture of the receipt when you finish eating, and then get a certain percentage back in the form of a value balance, which you can redeem for stuff like Starbucks gift cards, Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, and the Gap as well. This is what it's like in New York City, folks. You have to move around traffic like this. But I highly recommend the Seated app. If you use my referral code below, you'll get $15 off your first meal, or $15 bonus on your first meal. I really wouldn't say off, because it's actually a credit to your account, which you get to redeem for something else. And I've seen rewards up to like 40% back on your restaurant dining. And it's not only the expensive restaurants too, they have really affordable options in there. So just by downloading this app and dining and snapping a picture of your receipt, you get $15 off your first meal. That's just incredible. Think about it. If you go to a restaurant, you spend 30 bucks, get $15 back on your dining experience. That's a 50% cash back. That's amazing. So with all that in mind, I hope you enjoyed my money saving tips in New York City. Right now, I'm just about to enter Times Square after talking about it for so long. One thing I will have to mention too, a lot of these souvenir shops around Times Square, their souvenirs are actually inflated. You can get a lot cheaper souvenirs at places such as Chinatown and around the area. Although I do find that New York City souvenirs are less expensive than many other places in the world. They have keychains for like 99 cents each, but you do have to be careful of their t-shirts though. I've seen I Love New York t-shirts for like $20 each. Meanwhile, you can get a great deal on them. You can get them under $5. And even though I do recommend the places around Chinatown, you have to be careful of those as well, because some of them do inflate their prices to match the area around here. So here's the TKTS booth by TDF I was mentioning before for the discounted Broadway shows. This is where you line up for the for that. It can get really crowded. Here you can see some of the prices for the TKTS booth. They won't have a lot of the hit Broadway shows like Lion King and Harry Potter and Hamilton. For that, you do unfortunately have to try your luck at the theater. But they'll have a lot of Broadway shows which are very good, and also off-Broadway shows. So if you're open to seeing anything, I highly recommend you to come here. So anyway, this about wraps up my video on money saving tips in New York City. The practical guide to saving money in New York City. Not the like stay at home and don't go out version, or be homeless and dumpster dive every night for free food. That's not what this guide is for. Or like live for $10 a day in New York City and only like eat junk food in Chinatown or stuff like that. This is a practical guide. But I'm going to walk these steps up to the top of the TKTS booth, do a panorama, and sign off.
I was not expecting that.
Well, looks like I have to change the battery. Okay. I hope you're enjoying this view of Times Square. And I also hope you enjoyed this money-saving video. If you did, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a big thumbs up. I would appreciate it. It would also help the YouTube algorithm. Comment down below if you have anything to add or if you like anything more elaborated on how to save money in New York City. And I'll see you all next time.